Good morning, and let me ask you something that may completely change the way you think about getting older. Why do some people reach their late 70s still walking confidently through the grocery store, remembering names without hesitation, climbing stairs without fear, and living on their own terms, while others of the very same age begin losing those abilities years earlier? Most people assume the answer is hidden somewhere in their DNA. Others believe it's simply a matter of luck, and many quietly accept the idea that growing older automatically means becoming weaker, slower, and more dependent. For decades, we've been told that growing older means accepting a gradual surrender, less energy, less strength, less independence, as though crossing the age of 70 quietly begins a countdown that nothing can stop. But over the past several years, something remarkable has emerged from the world's leading longevity research centers. Scientists studying healthy aging have found that many adults between 70 and 80 are not merely surviving longer, they're maintaining abilities that previous generations almost always lost. They continue traveling, solving complex problems, enjoying meaningful relationships, and making plans for years ahead. I'm Dr. William Li, and after years of studying how the body repairs, protects, and regenerates itself, I've come to appreciate a truth that many people never hear during routine medical appointments. Your biological age and your chronological age are not always the same thing. Two people may both celebrate their 75th birthday on the same day, yet one requires assistance with everyday tasks, while the other spends the afternoon gardening, hiking, or playing with grandchildren. The difference often isn't found inside an expensive bottle of supplements or hidden inside an experimental treatment. More often than not, it's found in small habits repeated consistently over many years. A large body of research from universities across North America, Europe, and Asia has reached a surprisingly similar conclusion. Certain daily behaviors appear again and again among older adults who preserve their independence far beyond what statistics predict. These individuals aren't superhuman. They aren't immune to illness. They simply continue doing a handful of things that many people slowly stop doing as they age. Today, we're going to explore 7 of those habits, and I want to encourage you to stay with me until the very end, because the final habit consistently surprises even healthcare professionals. It has almost nothing to do with exercise or nutrition, yet it may be one of the strongest predictors of remaining mentally sharp into your 80s and beyond. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you something. Let me know your age in the comments below. Whether you're 70, 73, 79, or even watching for someone you love, I'd genuinely like to hear where you're joining us from and which habit you believe has helped you the most over the years. This community is filled with thoughtful people who learn from one another, and your experience may encourage someone who needs it today. Now, let's begin with something that sounds almost too ordinary to deserve a place on this list, yet modern science continues to prove otherwise. Many people believe walking is simply a way to burn calories. That idea dramatically underestimates what happens inside the aging body every time you take purposeful steps. After the age of 70, blood vessels naturally become less flexible. The heart works harder to deliver oxygen throughout the body. Muscle fibers slowly shrink. Balance becomes less reliable. Even tiny declines in the circulation can affect memory, concentration, and mood. Yet researchers following thousands of older adults discovered something fascinating. Those who maintained a consistent habit of brisk daily walking experienced significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and physical disability compared with individuals who became increasingly sedentary. The reason extends far beyond your legs. Every step encourages your muscles to contract, helping push blood back toward the heart. Improved circulation delivers oxygen to the brain while simultaneously reducing inflammation throughout the body. Walking also stimulates the release of chemicals that help nourish neurons responsible for memory and learning. Think of your body as a city. Your heart is the power station. Your blood vessels are the highways. Your organs are neighborhoods depending on constant deliveries. When movement slows, traffic slows. Deliveries become delayed. Repairs happen more slowly. Eventually, every neighborhood begins showing signs of neglect. But when you move every day, those delivery routes stay open. One fascinating study published on healthy aging found that older adults averaging around 7,000 daily steps maintained significantly greater mobility over several years than those who walked far less. More importantly, benefits appeared long before reaching the popular 10,000 step goal. Consistency mattered far more than perfection. I've had patients tell me they believed walking only counted if they could manage several miles. That's simply not true. A 15-minute walk after breakfast, another after lunch, a gentle evening stroll with a spouse or neighbor. Together, these smaller sessions often provide tremendous physiological benefits while placing far less stress on aging joints. One gentleman I remember vividly was 76 when he first visited my office. He had gradually stopped walking because his knees occasionally felt stiff. Understandably, he worried that movement would worsen the discomfort. Instead, inactivity became the greater problem. Over several months, he noticed declining endurance, poorer sleep, increasing blood pressure, and difficulty climbing stairs. We agreed on one simple goal: 10 minutes each morning. Nothing more. No athletic ambitions, no impossible expectations. Just 10 intentional minutes. Within 3 months, he was comfortably walking nearly 40 minutes each day. His blood pressure improved enough that his physician adjusted medication. He reported sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Perhaps most importantly, he regained confidence. He no longer viewed himself as fragile. That shift in identity often becomes the beginning of healthier aging. But here's the important detail many people overlook. Exceptional older adults don't merely walk when they feel energetic. They walk especially on days they don't, because motivation changes, habits remain. Now let's move to another behavior that often receives far less attention than it deserves. Ask someone what protects memory as we age, and they'll probably mention crossword puzzles or reading books. Those activities certainly have value, but they overlook one of the brain's greatest allies: curiosity, not intelligence, not education, curiosity. Researchers studying healthy aging repeatedly observe that adults who continue asking questions, learning unfamiliar skills, and exposing themselves to new experiences maintain stronger cognitive performance than peers who settle into repetitive routines. Your brain evolved to solve problems. When every day becomes identical, your brain receives fewer reasons to build new neural connections. Imagine a forest path. Walk the same trail every day, and it becomes smooth and easy. Stop exploring anywhere else, and the remaining trails slowly disappear beneath weeds. Your brain functions remarkably similarly. Every new challenge asks neurons to communicate in unfamiliar ways. Learning basic photography, trying watercolor painting, cooking recipes from another culture, learning a few words in another language, even navigating a different route through your neighborhood. Each small novelty encourages your brain to strengthen pathways that otherwise weaken through disuse. Scientists refer to this remarkable ability as neuroplasticity. While neuroplasticity naturally slows with age, it never completely disappears. That's one of the most encouraging discoveries modern neuroscience has given us. Your brain remains capable of adaptation well into your 70s and 80s. It simply requires a reason. A retired schoolteacher once shared something I'll never forget. After leaving the classroom, she gradually stopped challenging herself intellectually. Television replaced reading, Familiar routines replaced exploration. Months became years. She described feeling as though her world had quietly become smaller. One afternoon, her granddaughter convinced her to learn digital photography. At first, she resisted. Technology intimidated her. Everything felt confusing. Yet, week after week, she practiced. Within a year, she wasn't simply taking photographs. She was editing images, traveling to nature preserves with friends, entering local competitions, and teaching beginners. What changed wasn't merely her hobby, it was her confidence. She often said she felt mentally younger because every week required learning something unfamiliar. Researchers have repeatedly observed similar outcomes. Older adults who continue engaging in meaningful learning frequently demonstrate stronger executive function, better emotional resilience, and slower cognitive decline than those whose routines remain unchanged year after year. The lesson isn't that everyone needs to master complex mathematics or become fluent in another language. The lesson is far simpler. Never allow your brain to believe its education is finished. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that decline begins in the body first. In reality, it often begins in expectation. The moment someone convinces themselves that they're too old to learn, too old to improve, or too old to adapt, they unknowingly start limiting the very organ that allows them to remain independent. The brain is constantly listening to the stories we tell ourselves. If every day reinforces the belief that nothing new is possible, those beliefs slowly become biology. Now, before we continue, if you're finding value in today's discussion, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week, I share research backed strategies designed specifically for healthy aging, explained in a way that's practical rather than overwhelming. My goal isn't simply to help you live longer, it's to help you live better for as many years as possible. Now let's move to another habit that quietly separates extraordinary aging from ordinary aging. And this one often surprises people because it's something almost everyone does every single day without giving it much thought. Eating. Not just what you eat, but how you eat. For decades, nutrition conversations have focused almost entirely on calories. Eat fewer calories, burn more calories. But after 70, your body becomes far more concerned with nutrient quality than sheer quantity. Every bite either provides the raw materials needed to repair tissues or it doesn't. As we grow older, one of the greatest biological challenges becomes chronic inflammation. Unlike the inflammation that occurs after a cut or an infection, chronic inflammation often remains invisible. It quietly damages blood vessels, accelerates joint deterioration, interferes with immune function, and contributes to conditions ranging from heart disease to dementia. Think about your immune system for a moment. Every second of every day, billions of cells are repairing damage, eliminating abnormal cells, fighting infections, and maintaining balance throughout your body. Those microscopic workers require fuel. Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, and plant compounds all contribute to keeping those repair systems functioning efficiently. One study examining dietary patterns among older adults found that individuals consuming a Mediterranean-style eating pattern experienced lower rates of cardiovascular disease, better cognitive performance, and improved physical mobility compared to those consuming highly processed diets. Why? Because food influences almost every biological system simultaneously. Healthy fats help protect brain cells. Fiber nourishes beneficial bacteria living in the digestive tract. Colorful fruits and vegetables provide antioxidants that help reduce oxidative stress. High-quality proteins repair muscles and support immune function. Rather than asking yourself whether a meal tastes good, try asking a different question. What is this meal helping my body accomplish? That single shift in perspective often changes food choices naturally without requiring strict rules. I remember one patient who insisted healthy eating sounded complicated. He believed he'd need expensive supplements, specialty ingredients, and hours of meal preparation. Instead, we focused on very small improvements. He added berries to breakfast several mornings each week. He replaced processed snacks with mixed nuts. He included leafy vegetables with dinner and started eating fish twice each week. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. But 6 months later, his cholesterol had improved, his energy increased, and he told me something that mattered even more. I don't feel like I'm running out of steam every afternoon anymore. Sometimes extraordinary results are simply the accumulation of ordinary decisions repeated consistently. And speaking of consistency, let's talk about something many people underestimate until they begin losing it: balance. Most people believe balance depends entirely on the ears or the legs. In reality, maintaining balance is one of the most sophisticated tasks your nervous system performs. Every second you're standing, your eyes, inner ears, muscles, joints, and brain are exchanging enormous amounts of information. Tiny adjustments occur constantly to keep you upright, even though you're completely unaware they're happening. Unfortunately, after 70, these communication systems naturally become less efficient. Reaction times slow, muscles respond a fraction of a second later, joint receptors become less sensitive, vision changes. The result is something we often dismiss as simply getting older. But many falls are not inevitable. What's remarkable is that these improvements extend beyond preventing falls. Better balance also increases confidence. People become more willing to leave the house. They visit friends more often. They exercise more consistently. They maintain independence longer because they're no longer afraid of every uneven sidewalk or staircase. One woman I met had gradually stopped attending church, not because she lost interest, but because she feared falling while walking across the parking lot. After several months of guided balance exercises combined with strengthening her legs, she returned to attending weekly services. When I asked what she appreciated most, she didn't mention stronger muscles. She smiled and said, "I got my freedom back." That's what balance truly protects: freedom. Now, here's something fascinating. The healthiest older adults don't wait until they experience problems before protecting their balance. They train it while they still have it. Just as people brush their teeth before cavities develop, they challenge balance before instability appears. That preventive mindset may be one of the biggest differences between people who remain independent into their 80s and those who slowly surrender activities they once loved. But the next habit may be even more powerful because it influences almost every system we've discussed so far without requiring any expensive equipment whatsoever: stress management. Most people think stress is simply an emotional experience. Your body disagrees. After 70, recovering from prolonged stress becomes increasingly difficult because hormone regulation changes with age. Elevated cortisol doesn't simply affect mood. It can interfere with memory formation, weaken immune defenses, increase abdominal fat, reduce muscle maintenance, elevate blood sugar, and even contribute to inflammation throughout the body. That's why exceptionally healthy older adults often share one important characteristic: they deliberately create moments of calm, not because life is free from problems, because they understand their body needs opportunities to recover. Some pray, some meditate, some spend quiet mornings in the garden, others enjoy breathing exercises, journaling, gentle music, or simply sitting outside watching the sunrise. The activity itself matters less than the physiological effect. The nervous system shifts from survival mode into repair mode, and that's where healing happens. There is a remarkable study from Carnegie Mellon University that demonstrated something many physicians had long suspected. Adults living with chronically elevated stress were significantly more likely to develop infections when exposed to common cold viruses than those whose stress levels remained lower. The immune system wasn't simply responding to germs, it was responding to emotional strain. That's a powerful reminder that the mind and body are never operating separately. One retired accountant I cared for taught me this lesson in a way I'll never forget. At 74, his blood pressure remained stubbornly elevated despite medication. Every test looked acceptable, yet he constantly felt exhausted. As we talked, it became clear that his days had become filled with worry. He spent hours watching continuous news coverage, checking financial markets, and dwelling on events completely outside his control. He believed staying informed was responsible, but his nervous system never truly rested. We didn't change his prescriptions immediately. Instead, we introduced something much simpler. He limited news consumption to 30 minutes each morning, replaced his evening television with a walk through a nearby park, and ended every night with 10 minutes of slow breathing before bed. 3 months later, his blood pressure had improved, he was sleeping more soundly, and he described feeling lighter, not because his problems had disappeared, but because they no longer controlled every waking hour. Sometimes protecting your health isn't about adding another habit. Sometimes it's about removing a source of unnecessary strain. Now, let's continue with something that researchers consistently describe as one of the strongest predictors of exceptional aging, yet it's rarely discussed during routine checkups. Purpose, not productivity. Purpose. Those two words sound similar, but they're profoundly different. Many people spend decades defining themselves by their careers. They wake up with responsibilities, deadlines, meetings, projects, and obligations that give structure to every day. Then retirement arrives. At first, it feels liberating. Sleeping later becomes enjoyable. Vacations become easier. There are fewer commitments. But after several months, something unexpected can happen. Without realizing it, the days begin blending together. Monday feels like Thursday. Weeks become difficult to distinguish. The calendar loses meaning. Researchers studying healthy aging have repeatedly found that older adults who maintain a strong sense of purpose experience lower mortality rates, better cardiovascular health, reduced risk of depression, and even improved cognitive performance. Why would purpose influence biology? Because purpose changes behavior. Someone who feels needed is more likely to wake up on time. They're more likely to prepare healthy meals. They're more likely to leave the house. They're more likely to stay physically active. They're more likely to continue planning for the future. Purpose creates momentum, and momentum creates healthier choices almost automatically. Think about the people you've admired most in their 70s or 80s. Very few of them spend every day sitting still. One volunteers at the local library. Another mentors younger professionals. Someone else helps care for grandchildren. Others maintain gardens, teach music, build furniture, organize community events, or support charitable organizations. Notice something important. None of these activities are primarily about earning money. They're about contributing. Human beings evolved to contribute. The brain responds remarkably well when it believes its efforts still matter. One woman in her late 70s shared that after retiring, she felt invisible. For nearly 40 years, she'd been a nurse. Every shift gave her opportunities to comfort people, solve problems, and make meaningful decisions. Suddenly, that identity disappeared. A friend encouraged her to volunteer one afternoon each week at a community health clinic. She agreed reluctantly. Within months, she wasn't merely volunteering one afternoon. She was mentoring younger nurses, organizing educational workshops, and helping new immigrants navigate healthcare services. When I saw her again, the difference was unmistakable. She stood taller. She smiled more often. Her energy had returned. Nothing about her chronological age had changed, but everything about her daily life had. Purpose doesn't necessarily add years to life. It often adds life to years. And now we arrive at the final habit, the one that consistently appears among older adults who continue surprising everyone around them. Ironically, it's also the habit many people quietly abandon without ever realizing it. They never stop nurturing meaningful relationships. Notice I didn't say they maintain the largest number of friends. Quality consistently matters more than quantity. As people age, social circles naturally become smaller. Children move away, co-workers retire, loved ones pass on, entire neighborhoods change. It's easy to assume loneliness is simply an unavoidable part of growing older. Research strongly suggests otherwise. Long-term studies have found that meaningful relationships influence longevity almost as powerfully as many traditional health behaviors. Supportive friendships reduce stress hormones. Shared laughter stimulates beneficial neurochemicals. Regular conversations challenge memory, language, emotional regulation, and attention all at once. Perhaps most importantly, genuine relationships provide something medicine cannot prescribe: hope. When someone knows they're expected at tomorrow's lunch, next week's volunteer meeting, Sunday's family dinner, or next month's book club, they naturally continue investing in tomorrow. Isolation quietly steals that motivation. Healthy relationships restore it. One gentleman lost his wife after 52 years of marriage. For nearly a year, he rarely left home except for grocery shopping and medical appointments. His daughter worried that he seemed to age almost overnight. Eventually, a neighbor invited him to join a weekly walking group. He declined several times before finally agreeing. At first, he barely spoke. Week after week, he simply listened while everyone else chatted. Gradually, that changed. He began sharing stories, making jokes, offering advice, organizing coffee after the walks. A year later, he admitted something that stayed with me. He said, "I thought they were helping me exercise. What they were really doing was giving me a reason to keep living." That sentence captures something no scientific paper can fully measure. Human connection doesn't simply extend life, it enriches it. When researchers examine people who remain remarkably healthy between 70 and 80, they don't discover perfect genetics or flawless lifestyles. They discover ordinary individuals consistently practicing extraordinary habits. They move every day. They remain curious. They nourish their bodies with real food. They protect their balance before losing it. They deliberately calm their nervous system. They wake up with purpose, and they continue investing in meaningful relationships. None of these habits promise immortality. None guarantee perfect health. But together they dramatically improve the odds of remaining independent, mentally sharp, and physically capable for far longer than many people believe possible. The truth is, aging isn't simply measured by birthdays. It's measured by choices repeated over months and years. If you take only one message away from today's video, let it be this: your 70s are not the end of your story. They're another chapter. And like every chapter, the decisions you make today help determine how the next pages will be written. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed, because every week I share evidence-based strategies designed to help you protect your health, preserve your independence, and enjoy more high-quality years with the people you love. Now I'd genuinely like to hear from you. Leave your age in the comments below, and tell me which of these 7 habits you've already made part of your life, and which one you'd like to begin working on today. I read as many of your comments as I possibly can, and this community continues to inspire me with the wisdom, encouragement, and experiences you share with one another. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Until next time, take good care of yourself, keep moving forward one day at a time, and remember that it's never too late to give your body and your mind another reason to thrive.